Hi there. I have been asked several questions about the 444 meditation, which took place on the 4th of April. I've had loads of people ask me about the meditation, specifically concerns about if it was a good thing to do and if dark entities can siphon our energy if we're all meditating en masse, or is this something that can actually affect positive change? I did endorse this meditation. I did create, or rather the nine came forward with a meditation from them specifically to empower us at this time and come together in unity. And the nine told me that the more we are separated, the more we will come together in unification on a psychic level, on an antimatter level. So the meditation the nine transmitted to me was actually a unification ceremony for starseeds. That's on my channel. So the reason why I'm making this video is I did respond to these questions, but I wrote this down as a status on social media. So I am going to read you the status. I actually wrote two different statuses about the 444 meditation. One was in response to questions, and the second one was my understanding and intuitions and psychic awareness regarding what had taken place after the meditation. So I'll read you the questions first. So this is what I wrote on social media. And this is really from myself and the nine together. It's not fully transcribed from the nine, but it's not completely me either. So when this happens, when I move into this sort of merge between myself and the nine, when I write anything or speak anything, then I usually say it's us, so this is myself and the nine together. There were a lot of misunderstandings and misinterpretations regarding the global 444 portal meditation on the 4th of April, 2020. I have been asked by several people to speak on this issue, and there are a few points here to clear up in response to these questions. Firstly, number one, is it true that when meditating collectively, that your energy can be siphoned by the dark forces to give them power? My response, yes, but only under certain circumstances. This would be if a large group of beginners within the spiritual path, the spiritual movement, got together to meditate. Then yes, their energy could be utilized and siphoned if they are beginners. Why? Because their meditation together as beginners does not contain a focused pattern, and therefore it would not raise beyond the fourth dimensional template where it can be hijacked. Now, this is only assuming none of these beginners had the natural ability to focus cohesively, which in itself would be very rare even in a large group of beginners. There's bound to be at least one or two of those beginners who can naturally do this. So it's unlikely that a group could get together and meditate and have their energy siphoned. If the collective meditation holds cohesively focused individuals guided by master light frequencies, then this raises the energetic of the entire group of meditators, activating the plasma stargate and transporting them all to the fifth dimension where that energy cannot be hijacked. This is why so many spiritual teachers and leaders in the movement were called to participate in order to lead and protect those who are not ready yet to be able to cohesively focus. They are cocooned within a bubble, if you will, and carried through the stargate that is the collective consciousness of humanity. The service to self groups and dark lords, if you will, cannot access the fifth dimension using the model the nine present to me. They do not find the emotion of love and unity palatable at all, although they can utilize non-cohesive light. When that non-cohesive light is merged with cohesive focus, they find this not only distasteful, but repellent. It is fear, chaos and confusion that they feed off, not love, focus, and clarity. 2. Is it true that the astrological timing was hijacked and the meditation took place at the wrong time, as the Gregorian calendar is not correct and is part of the fallen system? Isn't it true that numerology is a Cabal Illuminati construct? My response, this is mine and the Nine's response. This was not specifically about astrological alignments per se, but the sacred geometric via numerology. This is absolutely nothing to do with the Gregorian calendar. It is correct that the Gregorian calendar is part of the fallen system, but numerology itself as a construct is based on symbol and frequency. This is presented by the Gregorian calendar dates, but not the Gregorian calendar as a counting system. This comes from a collective consciousness that is in itself sixth dimensional and is known as the DNA fire letter template. The whole subject matter of the Gregorian calendar is a big confusion. Numerology through symbolism is an ancient science that was hijacked by the Cabal Illuminati, and we are reclaiming it. The 444 was a portal recognized by the Illuminati, this is true, and their aim was to hijack the unfocused light of the meditators. Yet once again, this backfired upon the dark groups, and instead the light was focused by those who are trained to lead large planetary collectives of light through Stargate ascension, and this has created a huge shift towards the positive vibration for Earth. 3. Is it true that the meditation was a distraction, giving false hope to light workers who are now even more caught in the dark net, which will lead to the New World Order? My response: the last thing the service to self dark cabal needed was an exponential raise in frequency upon this planet, adding ever stronger vibrations to the ascension timeline and the new higher dimensional state on Earth. In order to reduce the amount of meditators, then they placed a fear code into the collective mind of the 3D matrix, creating fear amongst light workers regarding collective global meditation. Now, this worked somewhat, as many psychics and intuitives are fully aware that there is a light-dark spiritual battle going on, and they wished to remain neutral by not lending their energy to this meditation. However, the call was put out for the spiritual leaders to step in, and step in they did. This gave an exponential curve to the wave of light created by the meditators and raised the energetic into critical mass. The result, as said, was a shift upon planet Earth, which will be made tangible in the coming days and weeks. 4. Is it true that the meditators, whilst concentrating on healing coronavirus or preventing a 5G global rollout, actually gave the Dark Ones permission to give the people coronavirus and 5G? My response, mine and the Nine's response: this is why the spiritual guides in human form and teachers in the movement were called to lead this meditation. I myself was woken from sleep exactly 5 minutes before the global meditation, and I was told quite clearly it was time to meditate. It was 3:45 a.m. over here in the UK, and I was fast asleep. So I was woken up with this loud voice saying it's time to meditate. I knew it was important that focused, cohesive intention was needed within the collective. The intentional focus that reached critical mass was not about healing coronavirus or preventing a 5G rollout. This was about the creation of a galactic template, bringing freedom, awareness, truth, the Great Awakening, and the Apocalypse, Great Reveal, to Earth. Coronavirus or 5G healings, preventions as intentions do not reach the fifth dimension. They are outcomes of the galactic templates of light, not seed points of intention. Therefore, permissions could not possibly be given, even if the healing of coronavirus or prevention of 5G was a thought or a visualization within the minds of some of the meditators. Permissions for this was not given. That was not part of the meditation. That's fourth dimensional. When you intuit or decide what the outcome is, that's fourth dimensional. When you go above to the galactic templates and the light, that's fifth dimensional, and then that falls into place where it will and where it is needed. So it's a very different kind of intention, and it must be focused in order to take it up into the fifth dimension and higher. Our final point is to please do not be afraid to participate in global meditations. This is so important. They are absolutely needed, especially now more than ever, and are truly magical. Meditations, prayer, whatever you move into to work in that way, these global movements into that higher consciousness at the moment is extremely needed right now. If you feel you wish to remain neutral and step away from this, then follow that guidance. But I can honestly tell you that the gathering of starseeds and light workers within the 444 meditation on the 4th of April was truly magnificent and beautiful. And I've had much confirmation from others who felt exactly the same way. Everyone was safe, protected, and raised up exponentially into a galactic initiation. It was profound and very powerful. No hijacking took place, for we were raised far beyond the dark matrix into a vibrational dimension where they simply do not exist, simply because the polarity does not exist there in the fifth dimension and beyond that or above that. The polarity does not exist there. On waking this morning, April 5th, which was yesterday, 2020, many have the feeling that the cabal are finished and are over. They sense the new vibration, which is of hope and love, not despair and fear. The cabal Illuminati's time is done. Indeed, this is true, but we must acknowledge that there is still work to be done within the third dimension. And we need to do this work to create that reality, that outcome, as I've spoken about in my previous talk about the whole situation that's occurring right now. We can rejoice, but not yet stop work or stop our intentional focus for the Paradise Timeline and New Earth Gaia. Indigo warriors, hold high the sword of Excalibur, be at the ready, for you are called. With love and blessings, Magenta, Pixie and the White-Winged Collective Consciousness of 9. So that was the first status, long status I know, for social media. I know a lot of you don't follow me on social media. I am on all the platforms, the most prominent platforms, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Stella, and I am on Twitter, and I'm on MeWe. So this is the second status that I wrote. So yesterday I said it doesn't matter what time you meditate, you can still connect to the global meditation on the 444 portal date, 4th of April 2020. So yes, the day before I had put out a status saying it doesn't matter what time you meditate, as so many people, especially in the UK and other places where it was going to be the middle of the night, they were actually saying, you know, do we literally have to wake up at 3:45 a.m. when we're half asleep and do this meditation? Can we do this earlier in the day when we're awake? And I said, yes, you can do it at any time, which is true. Absolutely. The energy body is non-locational within time and space. So you can do the meditation at any time and still join with that collective. And that's the case now. You could go and meditate now and join in with the 444 collective, because where they go, where we went collectively, is out of time, out of linear time. Having said all this, I was woken up to meditate at the exact time when the group were working. This wasn't because I couldn't lend my energy to that meditation at another time. It was because the intentional focus was needed by just a few meditators who knew how to do that, so that the entire group of meditators would be lifted up into fifth dimensional and beyond and above energy, so that they were not left floundering in the fourth dimension. So there was no chance of any hijacking at all. That's the reason why I and other spiritual individuals who are adept with meditation, practiced with meditation, would have been called to join in. So that's why the 9 woke me and told me to join in. So this is true, and I put this out there especially for the United Kingdom and other places in the world where it is the middle of the night. Having said this, I woke suddenly at 3:40 a.m. with the words, "It's time to meditate," very clearly. So I heard this through clairaudience, like somebody is speaking right next to me. So there was on this occasion a definite call to participate at the same time, despite the fact that the energy body is non-locational in time and space, and you can join the collective in dream time. So had I meditated earlier in the day, I could have still created that intentional focus, but on this particular, for this particular 4/4 meditation, I was obviously and many others were obviously needed at the exact time. So what we're looking at here is non-linear, out of time moments and out of time energy that spans through any time period, simultaneous to a linear time experience as well. So for this one meditation, the linear was brought in, and that's why so many were it happened to others, that other spiritual individuals who are adept at meditating, used to meditating, spiritual teachers, channels, wrote to me saying the same happened to them. They were woken up in the middle of the night. Those who lived in countries where it was 3:45 a.m. As I was obviously called to participate at the actual 3:45 a.m. point, I put on my headphones and did the guided meditation from the 9. So I did my meditation that I brought down from the 9, which is on my YouTube channel, which is a Starseed unification ceremony for the 444. This lasted 30 minutes, and after that I joined in with the last part of the beautiful live meditation with David and Elizabeth Wilcock. So that was lovely. I managed to catch the sort of final part of that, and especially Elizabeth Wilcock. She's got a very beautiful resonance within her voice, and David Wilcock's meditation was quite specific about many thoughts, many structures, but Elizabeth Wilcock's meditation, perfectly complementary to David's, was instantly within that high vibrational state and very, very light encoded. Anyway, what I wrote here was, I must say this was extremely high vibrational, with Elizabeth's beautiful soft voice and her singing bowls. So yes, she used the singing bowls to go along with that meditation. It was really beautiful. So that complemented the meditation from the 9. So this morning, which was yesterday, I woke with a very positive feeling. Many of you may have felt a tangible shift took place during and after the global meditation. So I asked the 9, why is global meditation so important at this time? And they replied, it is not meditation per se that is necessarily important, but collective focused intention on the same outcome, goal, timeline, frequency. Meditation is but a tool to enable collective focused intention. So that is what is important right now. Meditation's great and important, and it helps you in so many ways, but what is crucial right now is collective focused intention. This is what is creating the Paradise timeline, the Ascension timeline. So I asked, has a shift taken place during or since the global 444 meditation? And the 9 replied, critical mass was reached for collective focused intention. That which was intentioned upon, the liberty templates, as in freedom for all, healing for all, reconstruction of galactic and planetary grids, diamond core alignments, rehabilitation of humanity, and the genesis of Earth and the creation of a galactic society was placed as a sixth dimensional codex, set within that geometric framework and drawn down into the third dimensional reality. The match within the physical dimension must and will take place, and is taking place, within your now moment. What in fact occurred was the raising of the planetary vibrational frequency exponentially. This spike in energetics shall indeed be seen upon your measuring devices. So indeed, a shift took place, moving us into the actual creations of the new Earth reality. Not sure exactly what the 9 mean by measuring devices. I will add, I've had about 200 people write to me since I put this status out on social media, and they all said the same thing. The measuring devices means the device that records the Schumann resonance. So as I've heard this from so many people, I'm taking it that that's what the 9 meant. However, the 9 have spoken to me about the Schumann resonance before, and they didn't say this time. They said measuring devices. So it does make me think, is there a different kind of measuring device as well as the Schumann resonance? I don't know. And the 9 aren't telling me any more than that. You're measuring devices. But as I said, I've had about 200 people write to me telling me it's the Schumann resonance. And they've all said the same thing. So just giving you that bit of information to add there. And indeed, there is work yet to be done, and it is going to be a challenge for many, but we are warriors of light and trained for the job at hand. Such gratitude and unconditional love for all humanity at this point, most especially every soul who took part in the global 444 meditation on the 4th of April. We wait now and see the manifestations of our collective unity take place within the physical reality. It is my opinion that this will present in a myriad of ways, but one prominent aspect of this will look like the Great Awakening or huge revealing, known also as apocalypse, across the planet, including all areas that have been infiltrated, as well as mainstream media. So let us collectively come together with these global meditations as often as we can, for truly they are so powerful. Blessings and love, Magenta Pixie. So these were my 2 statuses on social media. I will reiterate again what I've said in the previous video that I did, where I spoke about all the information that I downloaded from the 9 about what was going on right now, the attempted planetary takeover, COVID-19, and everything to do with that subject. So what I'm going to reiterate again is what the 9 are clearly telling me is, as we move forward in the next time period, whether it's days, weeks, months, I really am not sure, as timelines are fluctuating at the moment. There are so many voices, there are so many sounds influencing the timelines. What the 9 say to me is, it's going to look like the New World Order for a while. We are going to look around us and see evidence of a planetary takeover. Everything that the New World Order stands for, everything that the Cabal have wanted for so long, it looks like it's manifesting everywhere we go. Now, it's important to see that, and it's important to acknowledge it. If we run off and think, oh, I don't want to look at this, I don't want to look at 5G, I don't want to look at any of it, I don't want to look at coronavirus, I just want to go into the light, I want to meditate, I want to raise my frequency and just think of bliss, then you are not lending your energy to this movement, because we have to go into 3D and integrate 3D with our consciousness on all levels. We have to look, and I understand it's really difficult because there are so many sensitive souls out there, especially the crystal souls. Now, crystal individuals, you don't need to examine this too deeply. Just be aware of what is happening, even if you don't necessarily lend your energy. But indigos, you are well in there. Indigo individuals, this is your place. This is what you are here for. It is to be in the third dimension and see what's happening. because we cannot make a stand in a third dimensional sense unless we see what is happening. So it's about researching, and it's about placing everything, understanding everything, and becoming informed. Indigos have a tendency to burn themselves out by constant focus on this. I understand that because I'm indigo myself, so it is important to withdraw and take space for self-care, as I've said in the previous video. So take heed of the crystals, and take time for yourself, but it's important to see all of this. However, on the other respect, if you are entrenched within the third dimension and you are not able to see the higher viewpoint or the greater reality behind the third dimensional reality, within it, above it, however you want to see that in a directional sense, everything is intertwined. If you are stuck within that third dimensional viewpoint, and many are, and that's where you will go when you first wake up. Most people, some people wake up spiritually first without seeing all this. I've spoken about this ever since I got online, really. The Nine have been teaching me this since 1993, and I got online in 2008 and spoke about this. So if you're in that third dimensional awareness, either you've just woken up, or something has just come to your attention, whether it be 5G, or whether it's the corona itself, or whether it's the shutdown, the lockdown, or whether it is the laws that are sneakily going through at the moment, taking our freedoms away and restricting us, whatever it is. If you are stuck only in that third dimensional picture, then you are lost in despair, really, because all you will see is a takeover. All you will see is a stripping of your rights and your freedoms. And that's just overwhelming and frightening. And that's where many people are. It is important to see it. So we are looking at a double integration, a double awareness. I mean, it's more than double, it's more than triple, it's many, it's multiple. But to keep it simple, we are looking at two different realities. One where that is happening, the freedoms are being stripped away, the New World Order is being put into place, and it's so obvious to see how that's playing out. It's so obvious to see the game. At the same time, we integrate that with the view of everything that I was talking about, everything that resulted from the meditation, the higher templates for liberty, for freedom, for humanity, is falling down as a geometric construct into the third dimensional reality. That is going to become tangible, but it becomes tangible after. So if we see it in a linear line, we're going to see this evidence of the New World Order, and then we will start to see evidence of the Ascension timeline. It comes afterwards because it has to sit in a linear presentation. Even though it's non-linear, it's happening now and it's already happened. So we take the viewpoint of everything that's happening in the third dimension, but at the same time we are aware of everything that's happening in the higher dimensions. So it's kind of like a thought of, goodness me, this is terrible. We need to make a stand. We need to do something. We can't have this happen to us. And then we raise the frequency, and we know that it won't happen. We know that it won't work. And then we feel the joy and the happiness of healing occurring in abundance, and the fact that we are creating this beautiful new society. So there are people lost in that third dimensional viewpoint, and if you find people that are there, if you can just take a moment to offer them the higher viewpoint so that they can then integrate, so that that comes into their reality. If you are in a position to be able to do that, there are individuals who are running away from 3D and are utterly cloistering themselves in this fifth dimensional bubble, which is lovely, but you are not integrating along with us. It is time to look, even if that's all you do, see what is happening. I mean, for example, here in the United Kingdom, a bill went through Parliament last week. This is, as far as I am aware, a bill is proposed legislation. It hasn't gone through law yet. A lot of people are getting confused. They've seen this bill and they think it's law. It's my understanding that it's not law yet, and it's a bill that is in the process of going through Parliament. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% sure of the legalities, but I'm pretty sure it's a bill is proposed legislation, and it has to go through Parliament. And in this bill, you know, yes, we do have the complete stripping of the rights of the individuals here in the United Kingdom. Every law that we've ever had to safeguard us and our families and our health and our homes is completely gone and totally replaced by this new draconian law, which is giving them powers to, if your child is showing any evidence of an illness, a cough or a cold, they can take that child away from you. They can isolate that child. If someone in your family dies, they no longer have to have an autopsy. They can just record the cause of death as anything that they want to, regardless of what they actually died of, which would naturally just be COVID-19. They can dispose of the body however they want, without a proper burial, without a funeral. And the worst of this is forced vaccinations. They can actually force you to take vaccinations if the bill goes through. And then we've got 5G, and we know what the dangers of 5G are, and the relation with coronavirus. We have all of these things going on, and no longer being able to use cash. I can go to my local shop that's literally right by my house, and they won't accept cash at all. So, you know, we haven't even got to the cashless society bit yet, which is something the New World Order have wanted for a long time. But that's already happened. They won't take cash because they think it holds a virus. So that paves the way for digital money and identification cards, and then, you know, microchips are next, and there's a whole plan that we can see unfolding, and the Nine are saying it's going to look like that. I have had a couple of moments myself. I've had lots of people write to me saying, Magenta, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Can you please speak on this? Please speak on that. And I'm doing my best, but I do understand how these people feel, because I've had a couple of shaky moments myself. You know, and I've said to the Nine, you said it's going to look like the New World Order and a planetary takeover. And well, you're right, it really does look like that, especially when I found this proposed legislation, this bill. The whole thought of forced vaccinations just terrifies me. I can't bear pharmaceutical drugs. I can't bear the thought of a vaccination. I know what's in them, and there's no way that I will ever willingly have a vaccination as long as I live. I'd rather take my chances with illness. I'll take my chances with coronavirus, and that is a whole sort of other subject which I've discussed already. Put it this way, I'm not scared to go out. I'm not afraid I'm going to catch anything if I go out of my house. But anyway, so I said to the Nine, you know, you're right, it really does look like this. But they said to me in their way, you know, we assure you that this is the path you are on, this is your trajectory, this is what you can achieve, this is what is set for you. And they show me this reality. Now, they've done this so many times in my personal life where I have felt worry and despair about a situation, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get out of this? It's awful. And they will show me the potentials available, the most probable timeline, and what I need to do to get there. And this has been a personal journey for me for many years. And the Nine, they have always been correct in what they have told me. I'm not expecting you to believe that, or for you to have the trust and the faith that I have. I get lots of people asking me, how do you know that the Nine are good? How do you know that they're not, you know, a false implant from the dark matrix? And I've been through all of this again and again and again and again. One of the first things I did when I connected with the Nine was to vet them in this way and to question them in this way. They invited it. They asked me to question them. They welcomed those questions. So this was something I did years and years ago. And then when I get to the next step, then they would show me again and again and again how I can trust them. But that trust, that faith is for me personally. It's part of my meaningful subjective experience. I have total faith in the 9, because when I look back at my entire life, this actually started from birth for me. I didn't know at the time, but everything I've ever done in my entire life has brought me to this moment. All the training that I have ever had is for now and where we are going in the coming, well, for the rest of my life, I guess, and beyond that. So I have that faith. I can't give that to you, and nothing I say is going to give that to you. And I wouldn't even try, because that isn't what I'm supposed to do. I'm just sharing my perspective and my story. But if you are in a situation where you have that yourself, you have that knowing, you have that faith, then you will be able to see the layers behind this attempted planetary takeover, and the layers behind the current narrative. You'll be able to see the potential future and how to create it and how to get there. So you will be in this sort of double way of feeling, this sort of, oh goodness me, this is a bit worrying, this is a bit sort of not so good, and having a few shaky moments where you might feel a bit down and think, gosh, you know, what is happening to reality? It's everything that the cabal have wanted, and it's coming to fruition. But then you'll have this other feeling of joy and hope and happiness, because you know that everything that you have wanted, everything you have visualized, everything that you've been told would occur is happening now, and you can see that future, and you know that you're going to have it. So you'll be in this dualistic emotional state. But please bear a thought for those who are not able to do that, who are simply seeing the third dimensional picture and don't see a way out. And there are lots of people there. So if you are one of those people that's caught in the third dimensional picture and you can't see a way out, there are many, many things you can do to find that alignment within yourself and find that knowing within yourself. But one of the things you can do, as I've said in my previous video, is start looking at those who are speaking about the positive timeline. Go and listen to someone like David Wilcock. You don't have to believe everything he says, but I can tell you now, and there are many people that believe that David Wilcock is some kind of controlled opposition, or that he's misleading people. Whatever his information may be, whatever he says, it's coming from absolute, genuine light, absolute faith and trust and service to others in absolute polarization. He's dedicated himself to his work, and he is genuine. You don't have to believe me, but this is what I know. So if you want someone to listen to, I recommend him. On a third dimensional level, I would look perhaps when you don't really understand the full cabal plan and the sort of step-by-step process as to how they can achieve a new world order. Someone like David Icke presents the picture really, really well. He may not necessarily have the love, light, spiritual side of things, or he may not show that. However, he does have that. He does have that understanding of higher consciousness. And often towards the end of his talks, he will present that. He's incredibly inspiring. Again, whether you think he's controlled opposition or not, I know that he is not this. This is another person who is genuine. He's very different to David Wilcock. They're completely different in the way they present their understandings. But I know that he is genuine, and I know that he has dedicated his life to this path. Any genuine light worker at this point will be completely dedicated to this path, regardless of whether they present as a channel, a clairvoyant, a psychic, a researcher, and even if they're moaning about one another. This is now the time to not be bothered about all that. If someone else says you're a fraud and you're controlled opposition or you're a shill, you have to learn to rise above this now, because everybody has chance at the moment to get out there with their voice. And one thing that seems to stop people, especially beginners, getting out there with their opinions and with their knowings is they will be attacked. And they can't believe that they're attacked, and then they argue with their attacker and try to justify themselves. I have done this myself in the beginning of when I first got online, although the 9 stepped in very quickly and taught me not to do this. You cannot engage with someone who's attacking you. And I will give you 2 reasons as to why. One, that person has been shaken to the very core by your information. They absolutely cannot believe it's true on any level, because they absolutely do not want it to be true. It's too paradigm shattering for them. It's too frightening for them. The only thing that they can do to just justify their current reality and stay with whatever sanity that they've got left, given what's happening around us, is to ridicule you, the messenger. So they will attack. Those people, it's not their fault. They're desperately clinging on to their reality. And over the next few weeks, it's going to be harder and harder and harder for them to do that. And it's going to get to a point where they can't really do that anymore. You know, when we look at what is coming, there will come a time where no one can cling on to that old narrative anymore. It's going to be paradigm shattering, and it's not going to be easy for those people. The other reason why somebody would attack you is because they've been paid to do so, or that they take pleasure in breaking other people down. They're more of a minority. People are paid to go out there and infiltrate the truth movement, and it's massively infiltrated. And the New Age movement is massively infiltrated as well. You have to stay focused on your path and on your role, and don't be distracted by those who attack you. And the last thing you want to respond to is when somebody says, "Where's the proof?" That's a big red flag. When someone says, "Where's the proof? Show me the proof," you need to take a step back. Now, I'm meaning this when I am presenting information about a non-tangible reality. We are looking at a higher dimensional framework. There's no proof of that. There might be different speakers, different informations, years and years of religious texts and all sorts, but there is no tangible proof. The tangible proof that they want isn't available, and any proof you give them, whether it's scientific, religious, whatever it may be, they're going to reject it, because somebody who actually demands, "Well, where's the proof?" Having said all that, sometimes it's important to look beyond what you are seeing. And I'm talking about things in a 3rd dimensional sense. For example, if there are photographs going around the internet or recordings saying that something is happening, but that recording is 2nd, 3rd, or 4th hand, you need to try to trace this to the source. So you're not looking for proof as such. What you are looking for is more evidence. So don't lend your belief system to something that just appears in front of you, that you haven't traced it to a source as much as you possibly can. And there's a lot of that going on in the truth movement. Many people are finding, you know, one photograph, one video, one podcast that says this is happening, and then they absolutely believe it and start sharing that information. And when that information that comes in is so good and you want it to be true, it's very, very tempting to just absolutely believe it. But if you do that, you're as lost as the people who don't lend their opinion to anything and reject everything. So it's all about being a critical thinker. It's about connecting all the dots together. It's about looking in a logical way, and using your intuition as well, and having the faith and the knowing. It's not fluffy bunny faith without any accuracy. Neither is it a demand for constant proof. It is a balance between those two things. If you can stay in that place, you will be led to more and more truth. Now, I can assure you that what we are facing is really, really good. This is what the 9 tell me. This is information that I truly believe, and they show me, and I believe them, and I know that we can create this. But right now, it can't be seen tangibly. That comes later. Right now, what we're seeing is evidence of a planetary takeover. And then behind that, there are people who don't even believe that level, and they absolutely believe the current narrative. So you've got layers and layers of people believing different things, living in a different perspective, and an absolute bombardment of information. It's information overload. And people who haven't learned to take in lots of information at the same time are going to, you know, have their mind blown right now and not be able to cope with the onslaught of information. Those people need to take a step back and just move into self-care. But it is important to keep an eye on what is going on in the third dimension, what is going on in the higher dimensions, in a balanced way. Do not lend your belief to anything, but at the same time have pure knowing. An absolute paradox, I know, but that's the way forward. Paradoxical consciousness, and this is what the 9 teach me. So thank you for listening. Those are the 2 statuses I put up on social media, and then I just thought I would discuss that just a little bit more. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I will be back with more videos. And sending love to all of you, thinking about everybody. We're all in the same boat right now. So massive love. See you all again soon. Bye.